Nellie?
I thought you had introduced me. My name is Nellie Hester Bailey, and I am one of the co-founders of Occupy Harlem General Assembly, but just Occupy Harlem. Well, my presentation is going to be somewhat different in terms of the unique set of circumstances that I came into this, and that Occupy Harlem emerged out of a whole set of circumstances and contradictions in the historic community of Harlem. And this is Central Harlem, which is known as Black Harlem, the Harlem Renaissance, as distinguished from West Harlem, which is much more ethnically diverse, and where Columbia University has expanded its campus, its $6 billion campus, 18 acres. And Central Harlem, as in contrast to East Harlem, which is SPOHA, as the real estate development has called East Harlem. No, SPAHA, Spanish Harlem, SPAHA. North Harlem, NOHA. South Harlem, South SOHA. I mean, it's just unbelievable what we're dealing with, but that shows you at least we'll have some levity here just in terms of the very difficult and, on the other hand, serious circumstances that we're in. As we know, I mean, just to be candid about it, the New York City real estate industry controls the political apparatus in this city. The New York Times is a real estate developer. They're landlords, and also all of the major newspapers. Columbia University, that even the Daily News was described in its glaring headlines, land grab in East Harlem. So this all goes to lay out a framework, if you will, a foundation, if you will, of the difficult situation and obstacles that we face. None more so, and I hope obviously I can speak candidly, than the Black Misleadership class in Harlem and its tremendous hold over independent forces through largely funding. If you're a non-for-profit organization, you're a non-governmental organization, you look for funding, and that funding is secured through the elected officials. And if they give you funding, then obviously it's a quid pro quo relationship. You don't criticize us, we're the good guys, as they continue to sell out the community to the powerful real estate industry that fills their coffers. So, and it's not just unique to Harlem, but it's all over the city. But however, in Central Harlem, that had been earmarked for intensive gentrification push out by the Bloomberg administration, and even prior to that, because capturing Harlem is a paramount importance. It's near every major transportation hub for the east side, for the west side, for the airport, to the major bridges. It's all there. So it's an important piece of real estate for the New York City plutocracy, the oligarchy, to have control of that. And also, with the city wanting to bring in 1 million new people, they got to go somewhere, and the rents are so prohibitive below 96th Street, where people are paying $3,500 for a bedroom apartment or even more, or studio apartment or even more. So now let me just tell you quickly how this relates to what is happening in Harlem, and why there was such an overwhelming response to Occupy Harlem General Assembly, the first that we held, first meeting we held in October of 2011. Over 250 people showed up because of all of these reasons, this background that I gave you. They were sick and tired of the Black Misleadership class. Charlie Rangel was, Congressman Charles Rangel was just coming off this, not incredible, everybody knew it, this scandal that involved a real estate owner or developer who had given him an apartment for his campaign office. So the cynicism and just being fed up with the political establishment was there. And so they all came out to that meeting. And we subsequently had 3 meetings after that. We were faced with the problem of sustainability. How do we sustain the organization without any resources? Because the churches in Harlem just don't open up. They're closed during the week and they're open on Sundays. So securing space was a tremendous problem, one that we were not able to resolve. I applied for funding for from Occupy Wall Street, but I did not receive any of that, any funding whatsoever. And then also there is another factor here. If I could have two more minutes, please. That I think was uniquely peculiar to Harlem and other black communities, and that was we're living in the age of Obama. I mean, that was it. And when you're talking about the 1% versus the 99%, where those people, but not those people, but rather supporters of Obama, and the majority of African Americans supported Obama. And so one had to tread this fine line between the Democratic Party, and remember, on the side of the Democratic Party is the Harlem Initial Leadership class getting money from the real estate developers for their campaign coffers. And so obviously there is a parallel, but how do you begin to talk about it and approach it so that people are not turned off, or one is not perceived as being anti-Obama? So it's a very tight and difficult line that one has to walk, and so we were confronted with that dilemma as well. But nevertheless, we pursued and proceeded, because most of the people in Harlem knew that in 2007 I had sponsored a number of critical thinking meetings in the community on Obama, and we were very critical of him and saw him at that time and expressed it so that he would be yet another tool and leader of U.S. imperialism, which obviously he has turned out to be that. But at the time when we started 211 in Occupy Wall Street, one had to have a cautionary approach to this, lest you would turn off a lot of people. Because remember, they're fed up with the black misleadership class, the politicians who are selling them out, but somehow or another they had compartmentalized the role of Obama in all of this, right? So anyway, so I just wanted to tell you some of the things that we were faced with. But nevertheless, let me tell you about a number of actions that we did that we thought were very, very important. One, in pointing out those obvious contradictions that I just mentioned to you. Obama came to Harlem at a very upscale, gentrified restaurant. It's the Red Rooster, and the owner and chef is of some world renown. He worked for the White House, Marcus Samuelson. It's one of the biggest, most successful gentrified places in Harlem. Well, the president came there for a $38,000 plate dinner. Well, the median income, the annual median income in Harlem is only about $28,000. So that was a huge disconnect, and we thought, like, okay. So here is an illustration of one of those contradictions that we were faced with, and we wanted, how are we going to deal with that? So we had a demonstration, much to the chagrin of the Harlem establishment. I called them the managerial class, but we had a demonstration. It was successful. It was reported in the Amsterdam News. And then from there, we had a demonstration against Obama, and this is all Occupy Harlem. And that was when the president was at the famous Apollo Theater, and many of you may remember when he was there, he sort of he sang, or sort of crooned this Al Green hit, let's stay together or something like that. Anyway, and he just sent everybody wild. It was sort of like the fever of the Beatles or something like that. He sent everybody. So while he was in there doing his Al Green number in imitation, we were outside demonstrating against the National Defense Authorization Act. Of course, the president slipped in and passed, and that was on New Year's Eve, and so we were outside doing that, and we thought that was very important. And I pause here to say, I don't know of anyone else that I've heard from across the country who protested against President Obama in such close proximity of him being at an event than what we did in Harlem at that demonstration. We participated in the May Day, and we did our endorsement there. Another large action that we took was Stop, Stop, and Frisk, and that was with the End Mass Incarceration and Stop, Stop, and Frisk, a national movement that was started by Cornel West and Carl Dix. And so in October, was it October of last year? Well, October of last year, we were arrested in front of the 32nd Police Precinct in Harlem. It was largely a symbolic action. They arrested all of us, about 35 people in total. We went to jail, included Cornell, Carl Dix, Reverend Phelps of Riverside Church, any number of folks, and so we were in jail for about 8 or 10 hours or something like that. And so we did that. So we have tried to make the organization and the existence of the organization, absent any physical infrastructure, of being relevant to the issues local as well as national. So that's it. Thank you.
I just had one question. You had this initial surge of 250 people show up, and that happens, that's a lot. I mean, that's probably the highest number I've ever heard. And that happens with a lot of groups when they first start. And you know, and then it becomes difficult to sustain that, even if people are not against it. You know, they remain friendly to the idea, but they just stop showing up as much. And you know, what have you experienced with that since the 250?
Well, it was exactly as you described. We were able to have a series of meetings. Sabukwe came up, I think 3 or 4 meetings, but money was very tight, and I had to pay the church. So there was only so much digging into my own personal pocketbook that I could afford. So we were just at a loss. And generally, what has happened, and perhaps some of you have experienced this, is that there was one church that always opened its doors, and that was St. Mary's. Always. But they have a new minister there now who's like a financial manager, and he wants $100 an hour. And so that was space, community space, that was on record for decades as open space for the community for progressive causes. But that is no more, because actually, I shouldn't say 100, he just said it was 75, which is like 100 to me. So that was it. And so again, when you went around to the churches and you begged, and I was hoping we would get our big chance from Occupy Wall Street, because they gave a large amount of money to this person in Harlem for some boiler or whatever, but I don't know, there's questions about where it actually went. So we were sort of desperate, and it was not sustainable, the money part of the revenue part of it coming from the members. And people would give, and some people gave generously, but it was not enough. And I think the last meeting that we've had, we've been in contact via the email, and I think, when we posted some stuff on the website, which was really Harlem Anti-War, and we just created a space for Occupy Harlem there, but we had a Twitter page, and I think we had Facebook, and we still interact with that. But it was, I just wanted to add what you said. It opened up, even in Harlem, this dialogue, because now what's part of the American lexicon is the 1% and the 99%. And even though people continue to skate around Barack Obama and they cannot be decisive in their criticism of his policies, even as they impact on the black community, and as we are going to see it through cuts in Social Security and Medicare, Medicaid, and veteran benefits, the closing of the post office, which started beforehand, people continue to be reticent about criticizing him. But it's getting better and better and better every day. Those contradictions as they reveal themselves, and that the truth cannot be denied. And part of the euphoria, the Obama euphoria, is slowly dissipating. It's done. And so we're hopeful for that. But it's a hard task at best of keeping Occupy Harlem going. But we try as much as possible. And currently we're doing a lot of work around Haiti. Not clothes and all of the other, goods or donations to Harlem, but the UN troops out of Haiti for themselves. Defending Haiti is defending ourselves, the sweatshops, and so we turn our attention to that around education, as well as the issue of Assata Shakur, who now has a $2 million bounty on her head, courtesy of the state of New Jersey, as well as the U.S. government.
Excuse me. Sorry.